From saving $200 a month with extreme budgeting, to earning an extra $20,000 a year by learning a high-income skill instead. Warren Buffett would never make these 5 mistakes, and neither should you. Ignoring the financial cost of free trials, it starts with a button. A glowing, inviting little button that says, "Start your free trial." You click it thinking, why not? I'll cancel before the 7 days are up. And just like that, your financial discipline gets ambushed by something that feels harmless, but isn't, because free trials don't just cost money. They cost clarity. They cost focus. And over time, they quietly cost you thousands. Let's be real. You're not paying $9.99 for a service you love. You're paying $9.99 because you forgot, or because you feel guilty canceling, or because you might use it again next month, but that month never comes. This is what's known as subscription creep. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's just slow, sneaky erosion. You know who understands this perfectly? The people designing those trials. Tech companies hire behavioral economists to make cancellation a psychological minefield. Some make you call a phone number. Others hide the cancel button deep inside. Some even send guilt-tripping emails. "We're sad to see you go. Are you sure you want to lose all your playlists, preferences, and personalized settings?" It works because your time is limited. Your attention is finite. So you tell yourself, "I'll do it tomorrow." But tomorrow becomes next week. And suddenly, that free trial has cost you $400 over the past year, and you barely used it. Let's talk data. According to a 2023 survey by CR Research, the average American underestimates their subscription spending by over $133 per month. And over 70% of respondents admitted to forgetting at least one recurring charge entirely. That's over $1,500 a year, lost not to luxury, not to emergencies, but to forgetting to click cancel. And that's just the average. Let's talk about someone who lived this. Meet Lisa, a freelance designer from Denver. In 2021, she signed up for a meditation app, a stock trading news alert, a diet tracker she stopped using after a week, 2 and a premium music service she thought was free with her phone plan. The total, around $58 per month. She didn't even notice it until her credit card expired and the emails came flooding in. Payment failed. Update your card to continue enjoying your service. She checked her statements. In 14 months, she'd spent $812.45 on services she no longer used. Her response: "I felt scammed by myself." Now contrast that with what the wealthy do. Warren Buffett doesn't chase free trials, not because he's above them, but because he understands the psychology behind them. If something is truly valuable, you'll know it, and you'll happily pay. If you're unsure, it probably isn't worth your attention in the first place. Buffett's approach is simple. Don't save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving. Free trials reverse that mindset. They encourage frictionless spending first, and reflection only after you've already been charged. So what's the smarter move? Create a trial-only email address. That way you don't get emotionally attached to the service. Use virtual cards with expiration timers. Set calendar reminders the same day you sign up. Label them, "This app is trying to steal your money." Or go Buffett style, don't sign up unless you'd be willing to pay full price today, with no trial. Because here's the thing. When you automate spending, you also automate forgetting. And forgetting is expensive. Let's do the math. Say you have just 5 inactive subscriptions, each around $10 a month. That's $50 a month, $600 a year. Over 10 years, assuming you'd have invested that in an S&P 500 index fund returning 8%, that becomes $9,040. Not life-changing money. Tell that to someone paying off a student loan or trying to fund a startup. So what does Buffett teach us? He doesn't fall for small traps because he respects small amounts. He understands that financial freedom is built not just on big moves, but on avoiding the tiny cuts that compound silently. It's not about being cheap. It's about being conscious. And if a company has to hide the cancel button to keep your money, that's not a business worth supporting. That's a red flag with a subscription label. Comment free if you've ever forgotten to cancel something free that got expensive fast. And if you think free trials are sneaky, just wait until you hear how safe career advice can lock you into decades of low return. Taking career advice from people who don't understand compound value, it usually starts with love. A parent, teacher, or older colleague says, "Get a safe job, stay there, move up slowly, and retire with benefits." It sounds like stability, it sounds like wisdom. But here's the problem. Most of these people don't understand compound value, not compound interest. Compound value, the growth of skills, network, and leverage over time. They're not bad people. They just grew up in a world where safety came from staying in one place. But the world changed, and most of us didn't get the memo. Here's what that advice really gets you. A steady income with minimal growth, predictable promotions that cap out fast, and skills that aren't transferable. Because you have specialized in one company's way of doing things. Meanwhile, the people who ignored that advice are building portfolios of knowledge. They change roles, they take risks, they gain leverage. And after 10 years, The safe path earns $80,000. The risky one earns $800,000 and owns equity in 3 ventures. So why do most people still take the slow lane? Because it feels respectful. Because we fear disappointing our families. Because working hard is a virtue, even if it leads nowhere. And because we don't measure return on time, we measure approval. Let's look at some numbers. According to a 2022 LinkedIn report, people who change jobs every 2 to 3 years see an average salary increase of 30% per move. Those who stay in one job longer than 5 years, they often fall 15 to 50% below market rate for their skill level. And that's just salary. It doesn't include bonuses, equity, new connections, or the exponential skill gain that comes from solving new problems. Now meet Jared, an operations manager in Chicago. At 24, he landed a job at a well-known logistics firm. His parents were thrilled. That's a real job, they said. Stick with it. He did for 9 years. He became the go-to guy. Ran everything smoothly, trained new hires, built trust. But something strange happened. Every year, his raises got smaller. His responsibilities grew. And when he asked about promotion, they told him, maybe next year. We just need you right where you are. Translation: you're too useful to move up. They weren't rewarding loyalty. They were exploiting predictability. Meanwhile, his college friend Dana took a different route. She worked in project management for 2 years, switched to tech, took a 10% pay cut to join a startup, learned new systems, got equity, built a name. 5 years in, she was making triple Jared's salary in consulting for 2 companies on the side. When Jared finally left, he had to take an entry-level offer just to catch up. He said, "I stayed because I thought that's what grown-ups did." That's the trap. Safe jobs feel like progress, but they often cap your value early and keep you there. Optimizing your monthly budget instead of your yearly strategy. You skip the $6 latte you cook at home. You cancel Netflix. You track every receipt in an Excel sheet color-coded by category. And it feels productive. It feels responsible. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're optimizing for pennies while ignoring the dollars. We've been trained to believe budgeting is the heart of financial discipline. And sure, it helps. But most people obsess over monthly line items, while never asking the bigger question. What's your annual wealth strategy? Because no matter how well you budget, you can't cut your way to wealth. At some point, you hit a floor. You can only save so much, but you can always earn more, invest smarter, or build value over time. Let's break this down. Imagine 2 people, Sarah and Ben. Sarah tracks every transaction. She saves $200 a month by cooking at home, canceling subscriptions, and driving less. Over a year, that's $2,400 saved. Not bad. Ben doesn't obsess over budgeting. Instead, he spends 6 weekends learning negotiation and switches jobs, increasing his salary by $20,000. He spends more than Sarah, but still ends the year with an extra $17,600 in his account. That's the difference between efficiency and leverage. Buffett doesn't spend time trying to reduce his utility bill. He spends time thinking about billion-dollar acquisitions, capital allocation, and strategic advantage, because big moves beat small tweaks every time. And here's what no one tells you. Budgeting feels good because it gives the illusion of control. You feel like you're managing money, but often you're just managing fear. Now meet Tony. Tony used to spend 2 hours every Sunday reconciling his budget. He'd check receipts, compare categories, forecast cash flow. But despite all the effort, he was stuck, barely saving $500 a month. No investments, no side income. Then one day, his mentor asked, "What if you spend that time building a skill that pays $500 more per client?" That hit hard. Tony paused his micro-budgeting routine, spent 6 months improving his started freelancing, and landed 2 $1,500 a month clients. In 1 year, his income increased by $24,000. Not because he budgeted harder, but because he thought bigger. Treating hobbies like side hustles too soon. It starts with one innocent question. Why not make money doing what you love? Sounds like a dream, right? Turn your painting into an Etsy store. Turn your guitar playing into paid lessons. Turn your writing into freelance gigs. You feel productive, inspired, like you're finally living with purpose. But here's the hidden cost. Not everything you love should make money. And sometimes, trying to monetize your passion kills the very thing that gave you peace. See, hobbies are pressure-free. They restore you. They ground you. They have no deadline, no judgment, no financial stake. But once you try to sell them, they come with clients, expectations, self-promotion, branding, algorithms. Suddenly, your escape becomes your obligation, and you're no longer painting for joy. You're creating content for strangers. The dangerous part, it doesn't feel wrong. At first, it feels empowering. Look at me, I'm building something. But you're not building a business. You're building a low-margin, high-stress, time-consuming hamster wheel that pays less than minimum wage. Let's look at the psychology. Humans crave validation. So when someone says, "You're so good at that, you should charge for it," we take it as a compliment. but not every compliment is a career plan. And just because someone would pay you $20 doesn't mean you should turn your Saturday joy into a six-part invoicing nightmare. Let's talk about Malik. Malik loved baking. Every weekend, he tried new recipes, shared them with friends, and posted pictures on Instagram. People loved them. You should sell these, they said. So he did. He got a cottage license, designed a logo, started baking every evening after work to fill weekend orders. He barely slept. His kitchen became a battlefield. And worst of all, he stopped experimenting, because now he needed consistency, predictability, efficiency. After 6 months, he burned out. The thing that once gave him energy had become the very thing draining him. He shut it down, and for a full year, he didn't bake at all. He said, "I turned my joy into a job, and it made me hate the oven." That's the risk. Side hustles sound sexy. They're celebrated on TikTok, sold in online courses, glorified by influencers, but what they don't show you is the trade-off. Time, peace, boundaries, creativity. Warren Buffett doesn't turn everything into a business. He plays the ukulele, he reads for hours, he eats McDonald's and drinks cherry Coke, not because it's profitable, but because he doesn't need every moment of his life to be monetized. That's the mindset shift. The wealthy don't try to squeeze dollars out of every hour. They build systems that work for them and let their free time stay sacred. Here's the test. Would you still do this thing if no one ever paid you for it? If the answer is no, maybe it's better left as a passion, because money often demands compromise, and passion, once compromised, rarely recovers. Let's talk numbers. A survey by Side Hustle Nation in 2023 found that over 60% of side hustles earn under $100 per month, and most require at least 5 to 10 hours per week. That's $2, $5 per hour, before taxes, expenses, burnout, or ruined relationships. So what do smart people do instead? They separate identity from income. They protect joy. They understand that not every hobby needs a business plan. Some just need a free Saturday and no one watching. And when they do start something new, they ask, is this scalable? Can I automate or delegate this later? Does this have leverage? If not, it stays personal, because the cost of turning joy into obligation is rarely worth the check. Now let's compare financially. Imagine you spend 10 hours a week trying to sell your crafts and make $300 a month. That's $3,600 a year. But you've now lost 520 hours. What if, instead, you spent 5 of those hours learning high-value skills? Coding, design, negotiation, writing, marketing. Within a year, those could earn you an extra $20,000, $58,000 annually, with far less stress. One builds a future. The other builds a fragile. Buffett once said, you don't have to swing at every pitch. That applies here too. You don't have to turn every passion into a product. Some of them are just meant to be yours, and no one else's. So protect your joy like an asset. Not everything beautiful needs to be sold. And if you think passion monetization is risky, just wait until you hear how emotions can hijack your wallet during life's biggest moments. Chasing lifestyle upgrades after emotional events. It's not the new couch, it's not the expensive dinner. It's not the first-class tickets, the timing. Because these purchases don't happen when everything is calm and logical. They happen right after something big. A breakup, a layoff, a promotion, a milestone birthday. And that's when your wallet becomes your therapist. We call it emotional spending. But that doesn't capture how seductive and socially accepted it is. Got dumped. You deserve a fresh start. Lost your job, now's the time to travel. Turned 30. Why not finally get that dream car? What sounds like empowerment is often just escapism in designer packaging. And the price isn't just financial, it's directional. You start drifting from your long-term goals, one emotionally justified swipe at a time. Let's talk about Monica. In 2022, Monica ended a 7-year relationship. Within a month, she leased a luxury apartment for the fresh start, booked international trips for healing, hired a high-end personal trainer to glow up, bought new clothes, a new bed, and knew everything else, and signed up for 3 coaching programs to become her best self. The total, $23,000 in under 90 days. She called it an investment in herself. But 6 months later, the excitement faded. The apartment was too expensive. The trips were over. And the only thing still growing was her credit card debt. She said, I confused transformation with consumption. This is the pattern. An emotional high or low hits. You crave control. You crave novelty. And lifestyle upgrades promise both. Fast, but what they really deliver is this. Long-term obligations rooted in short-term emotions. And the most dangerous part, it feels justified. Because your friends cheer you on. Because it feels like healing. Because you only live once. But as Warren Buffett says, if you buy things you don't need, soon you'll have to sell things you do. Now, let's look at the numbers. A study from the University of Michigan found that emotional events increase discretionary spending by up to 37% in the 30 days that follow. And those purchases are 18% more likely to involve credit. That's self-sabotage, cleverly disguised as treating yourself. But here's the catch. This doesn't just happen with sadness, it also happens with wins. You get promoted, you land a big client, you feel upgraded, So you upgrade your life to match new car, new watch, new apartment, all to match a moment that passed. That's the trap. You upgrade your expenses to your best month ever, then spend the rest of the year trying to keep up with that version of yourself. Meanwhile, the wealthy do something different. They don't reward every emotional spike with a financial shift. They pause. They let the dust settle before making moves that last longer than the mood. Take Warren Buffett again. When he became a billionaire, he didn't buy a mansion, yacht, or jet. He stayed in the same house, drove the same car, because he knew emotion plus access equals dangerous decisions. So what's the smarter move? Build a 48-hour cooling system into your life. Anytime something big happens, good or bad, you wait 2 full days before making a financial decision. And during that time, ask yourself, is this solving a feeling or a real problem? Would I want this if nothing had just changed? Does this commit me to more than I'm emotionally ready for? Because emotional spending doesn't just cost money. It costs momentum, it creates clutter. It ties your identity to things you didn't truly choose. You reacted into them. Now let's compare outcomes. Let's say you upgrade your lifestyle by $1,000 a month after a big life event. Over 3 years, that's $36,000. Now imagine you didn't do that. Instead, you invested that amount, $1,000 a month, into the S&P 500. In 3 years, you could have over $40,000, depending on market conditions. One path leads to fleeting comfort. The other leads to permanent leverage. This doesn't mean you can't celebrate. It means you don't confuse purchases with progress. You don't confuse luxury with healing. And you don't let one emotional wave rewrite your financial future. Because here's the real flex: keeping your plan intact when everything in you wants to blow it up. The next time you hit a turning point in life, remember, the fastest way to ruin a comeback is to spend like you've already arrived. And if you think emotional spending is dangerous, just wait until you hear what happens when people obsess over saving pennies and ignore how real wealth is built. Optimizing your monthly budget instead of your yearly strategy. You skip the $6 latte. You cook at home. You cancel Netflix. You track every receipt in an Excel sheet color-coded by category, and it feels productive, it feels responsible. But here's the uncomfortable truth: you're optimizing for pennies while ignoring the dollars. We've been trained to believe budgeting is the heart of financial discipline. And sure, it helps. But most people obsess over monthly line items, while never asking the bigger question: what's your annual wealth strategy? Because no matter how well you budget, you can't cut your way to wealth. At some point, you hit a floor. You can only save so much, but you can always earn more, invest smarter, or build value over time. Let's break this down. Imagine two people, Sarah and Ben. Sarah tracks every transaction. She saves $200 a month by cooking at home, canceling subscriptions, and driving less. Over a year, that's $2,400 saved. Not bad. Ben doesn't obsess over budgeting. Instead, he spends 6 weekends learning negotiation and switches jobs. He spends more than Sarah, but still ends the year with an extra $17,600 in his account. That's the difference between efficiency and leverage. Buffett doesn't spend time trying to reduce his utility bill. He spends time thinking about billion-dollar acquisitions, capital allocation, and strategic advantage, because big moves beat small tweaks every time. And here's what no one tells you: budgeting feels good because it gives the illusion of control. You feel like you're managing money, but often you're just managing fear. Now meet Tony. Tony used to spend 2 hours every Sunday reconciling his budget. He'd check receipts, compare categories, forecast cash flow, but despite all the effort, he was stuck, barely saving $500 a month. No investments, no side income, just discipline. Then one day his mentor asked, "What if you spent that time building a skill that pays $500 more per client?" That hit hard. Tony paused his micro-budgeting routine. Spent 6 months improving his started freelancing, and landed 2 $1,500 a month clients. In 1 year, his income increased by $24,000. Not because he budgeted harder, but because he thought bigger. That's a shift most people never make. Because it's easier to limit coffee than to learn negotiation. It's easier to track cents than to risk failure by starting something new. And society rewards visible discipline, not invisible scale. But Warren Buffett didn't get rich by saying no to luck. He got rich by saying yes to compounding. 2 ideas that grow. 2 systems that earn while he sleeps. So what do the wealthy do differently? They create default rules, not daily decisions. They automate savings. They invest before they spend. They buy back their time. And most importantly, they zoom out. Instead of asking, how can I save $50 this month? They ask, how can I increase my earning power by $50,000 this year? And here's the math. Let's say you save $200 a month. Over 10 years, that's $24,000 before investing. Now let's say you upskill and land a job that pays $1,000 a month more. That's $120,000 in 10 years. Even if you spend half of it, you're still quadrupling the impact. And if you invest the difference, that number grows even faster. thanks to compound returns. This doesn't mean budgeting is useless. It means budgeting without a strategy for expansion is like patching leaks in a sinking boat instead of getting a bigger ship. So what's the better approach? Once your basic expenses are under control, stop obsessing over the small stuff. Start asking, what skills am I building this year? What assets am I acquiring? What leverage am I unlocking? Because the truth is brutal. Frugality has a ceiling. Growth doesn't. And the people who get rich, they think in years, not months. They chase multipliers, not coupons. They optimize for freedom, not spreadsheets. Here's what Buffett would say. Beware of spending too much time on something that doesn't matter. Tracking $7 transactions when you could be building $70,000 in equity. That's a trap. It feels safe, but it's a quiet form of financial procrastination. So here's the challenge. Audit your life like an investor. Don't just ask, where can I spend less? Ask, where can I create more? Because at the end of the day, wealth isn't built in the grocery aisle. It's built in your decisions, your skills, your mindset. Your wallet will thank you for watching this one next.